If everybody can work on taking your seats and silencing your cell phones, we'd appreciate it. We'll get started here just momentarily. All right, it is 6 o'clock, and we will call to order our City Council special meeting for Monday, the March 27th at 6 p.m. Everybody from council is present and accounted for. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 3, citizen comment period. We have 2 people signed up to speak this evening. Mrs. Fritz, you're first on the list. If you could come forward. Welcome, ma'am. You just have to hit the button to turn the mic on. The little, there you go. Nancy's got you.
There you go. Okay, I thought it would be green.
The floor is yours, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Mrs. Fritz. I live at 8927 Garden Ridge Drive. I've been out here for over 30 years. I hope you'll bear with me. I had a stroke here a while back, and I'm trying out new hearing aids. Took some of my hearing. I'm here because I'm concerned about the rezoning situation that we're going to be getting into. I don't really know exactly what the plans are for that, but I do know I've had my meetings with the Comal County Appraisal's Office before, a couple of times before now, and I'm very concerned about what this is going to do to the appraisal of some of the property, especially what may be planned for the north side of 2252, which is not where the properties are selling. It's on the south side between here and Rolling Oaks Mall. And I'm just concerned because we have a lot of older citizens out here that are on retirement incomes and so forth. I happen to have a little house up here on 2252 that's not 1,400 square feet on pier and beam foundation that wouldn't rent for what they want to raise the taxes to on that. So I am concerned about that. I hope you keep those issues in mind. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Fritz. And second to sign up tonight is Mrs. Sharon Stripling.
You're not giving me enough time to have gone through all of your zoning ordinances here. My name is Sharon Stripling. I live at 21729 Forest Water Circle. I've lived there for 33 years. I have a bunch of tabs on here, but I'm going to try to focus on the main ones that I've been concerned about. One of them came up just the other day because of an estate sale in the neighborhood, and I've noticed that we no longer require permits for garage sales or estate sales, which to me does not control a lot of people that are coming in and out of the neighborhood. There were over 100 cars, or there were 100 people signed up at Forest Waters for that one. I think somehow y'all have a line in here on garage sales, and it says you're only allowed 2 a year. How do you know that if you don't require that they do permits? You think somebody's going to come and tell you about it? I think you'll have a little bit of trouble controlling that. Another thing, I'm not really in favor of short-term rentals, but I know that's been sort of pressured because there's a lot of people that have raised a lot of issues about that. Y'all have done a lot of good stuff in here with accessory structures requiring they be built out of the same materials, garages can't face the front. All of that is really good. My main issue, it has to do with storage of RVs and boats and trailers in people's driveways. And at the meeting I came to in November, there was a copy of the ordinance, which I have, and there was a whole line there that said it would be required to be stored behind a 6-foot-tall fence. That is totally gone now. The way y'all have it worded, there is no way that you're going to be able to control anything, because it says, if you look on page 75, that it's just concealed from view in a garage. Okay, that's good. Or parked in the rear or the side yard. So that means somebody can park them on their driveway, no control over them being out of view. We have a lot in our neighborhood. You see plain as day. Some neighbors are looking straight at them. And I just don't, I mean, that to me, I know y'all have trouble enforcing it, but I think it would be better if there was some kind of, I don't know why y'all went away from being behind a fence. The other thing I did not see in here that y'all had in it before was inoperable vehicles. We have some that are up on lifts that have no tires on them. And you're leaving those. We have some that have been stored under covers for 2 years and have never been moved. And so that's sort of where my main beef is sort of, why did we take out that passage? We're just basically letting people put stuff wherever they want it on their property. And I know a lot of people are going to raise a stink if we changed it, but right now y'all used to enforce it a little bit. But anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, that concludes citizen comment period. Item number 3, moving on to item number 4, approvals and authorizations. 4A, the following items are for discussion, consideration, and action. Ordinance number 13-03-2023, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting a comprehensive planning and zoning ordinance, establishing a planning and zoning commission and a board of adjustment, setting rules and regulations, providing for penalties, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. So before we open with the public hearing, we'll get an update from both Cynthia and Bryce. Welcome from our attorney's office. And Bryce, I know you're going to give us a presentation. Thanks for coming tonight, Bryce. It's always good to see you.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, council and mayor.
Got to turn the mic on.
There we go. Right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bryce Cox with Denton Navarro, Rocha, Bernal, and Zeck. I'm the city planner for the law firm. And while this is getting loaded up, I just wanted to go over a couple high-level items on the zoning ordinance tonight about some of the biggest changes that are in there. There's a lot of items, right? We are adopting a brand-new comprehensive zoning ordinance to replace the existing ordinance. A fair amount of items got recycled from the old ordinance into the new one, but there's also a lot of new stuff as well. If you go to the next slide for me. So at a very, very high level, a lot of the zoning ordinance improvements, we've made updates to better align the zoning regulations with the city's master land use plan. We've done a number of improvements for process and procedures, both clarification and listing items out, et cetera, so everybody can follow the procedures very clearly. We've updated a lot of the language for clarification and simplification in those areas where we could. Oh, thank you. Additionally, there's a few new districts that have been added to the ordinance, and there have been a number of updates in addition to both the land use chart and some of those zoning development standards like landscaping and screening and buffering. As far as updates to the processes and procedures, so we've done updates to old application procedures to update things so they're current with current state laws and procedures. We've introduced some processes and some ways to help streamline review so that we're able to fully look through development applications, make sure they're compliant with all of the city's ordinances, and it's very clear about how that review process works. So folks requesting those applications have a very good understanding of what to expect going into it. We've also improved the clarity and simplification of procedures by grouping like items and really adding all those processes in reading it between the current zoning ordinance and the proposed. That's one item that's pretty easy to point out. Overall, we looked at doing clarification, simplification updates where we looked at simplifying things that were overly complex and kind of peeling back some of the layers to make sure that we're regulating those elements that are most important to the community. We've improved the organization of your current zoning ordinance so things logically flow together. Requirements are with like requirements. There's not things hidden in multiple layers or things like that. Everything's very upfront and organized. And then overall, most of the changes that are included in here are to the non-residential zoning districts and land uses and those pieces. There are a few changes with regard to residential, but the overwhelming majority of the changes have been to the non-residential section. The additional zoning districts that got added in include the residential neighborhood district, which is intended to provide lots that are sewered on a public sewer system, so they're a little bit smaller than our current half-acre and greater lots. We're proposing to add a planned use development district, which is a bit of a write-your-own zoning district so that we can get new and innovative development. This isn't at a reduced standard. It's actually normally these developments come at a much greater standard than traditional base zoning. But it does provide a really useful tool for master planning areas and holistically thinking about development. There's also two mixed-use overlay districts, the neighborhood mixed-use and community mixed-use, that have been incorporated in, as well as a natural features overlay district that's intended to help provide some corridor items along 3009 and 2252 coming through town. Lastly, I'll remind everyone that this zoning ordinance is a living document, right? So y'all have seen me present multiple times, and both to y'all as well as various presentations that we do with the COG and that our firm puts on. And you always hear me tell you that development codes and your comprehensive plan are living. And what I mean by that is that the work is never finished. Even when we adopt items, we still, as a community and as council and planning and zoning commission, need to be looking at and regularly evaluating our codes. Are we getting the development that we're intending to get? Is it working the way it's supposed to? Are there problems? Are we seeing a lot of variances come in for the same thing? These are all kind of red flags for us to look at different development items and say, hey, maybe we need some tweaks here and we need some tweaks there. The work is never done here, and you can't ever get it 100% right. It's not adopt it one time and we're done. We did that last year. We don't have to do it again. It's a constant cycle. The good news in this big effort that you're undertaking is that we are looking to replace the entire zoning ordinance. And so the idea that we would need to do yet another humongous update to completely rewrite it next year, probably don't need to do that. But almost always, especially with this kind of major update, are there minor tweaks and pieces needed to make sure that our codes are fully aligned with making the community's vision a reality, right? Really coding our comprehensive plan. And those changes can be big and small, right? So we can have big items that we need to address, and we can have small little tweaks here and there that need to be addressed. All of it is relevant. None of them are really Band-Aids. It's part of the process of continuing that development. With that, I've got questions. We'll probably hold that until after the public hearing, but I am available if there are any planning questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you very much. Before we open the public hearing, a couple things I'd just like to say. I want to say thank you to everybody up here at the dais for working so hard and diligently on this for a long time, as well as our city staff, our city administrator, city secretary. Thanks for what you've done. Our legal counsel team, Cynthia and Bryce, you guys have done yeoman's work, worked very hard to make sure that, like you said, Bryce, it's not a perfect document, but it's a living, breathing document that we can tweak from time to time when we need to. And you guys have kept us legal and kept us sane, so thank you very much. And also out to everybody in the audience, and specifically to many of you sitting out there tonight who have worked very hard on this revamping of our ordinance. Many of you, I'm looking at some of you right now, have worked hard for years to do this, and we thank you for that. And the work's not done. We'll keep on going as we work to adopt tonight. There will be tweaks that we need to make here and there as different things arise, and we will do that. So we appreciate those of you that didn't have an active part in rewriting this zoning ordinance over the past couple years. We thank you for diligently coming out and participating in the public hearing process and giving your inputs, Sharon, because it's very valuable to us for our residents to come up and talk to us about this stuff and express your concerns. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on. Nancy, anything to add before I move on, and/or Marissa?
No, I don't.
Okay. So we'll move on to item number 4A1, hold a public hearing. We will open the public hearing here at 6:15. And the first thing I'd like to ask is, Marissa, do we have any written comments that were presented to you?
No, we do not.
Okay. No written comments were presented to the city to be read tonight. Do we have anybody that wishes to come up and speak regarding this revamping of our ordinance number 13? It's a public hearing, so it has to be, if you're going to come speak, it has to be specific to what we're doing tonight. Any takers? If you would state your name and your address, Mr. Voller, welcome. It's good to see you.
My name is James Bowler. And I also have a office building here. I came tonight to talk about the new ordinance and specifically the restrictions on short-term rentals. Previously, the ordinance was going to restrict it completely, pretty much. And I'm assuming that all of us believe in private property. If I sit in my backyard and I put on some music, nobody should be able to come up and say, hey, I don't like that. I want you to play some rap music. If you don't like it, you shouldn't be able to tell me to play what you like. But if I play something really loud and it's keeping you from sleeping, you ought to be able to call the police and they can enforce Ordinance 139, which is the noise ordinance. If I burn a fire in my fire pit and you don't like it, well, that's too bad, as long as there's no restriction on burn ban. But if I burn something noxious, then you should be able to come and complain it because it's hurting your eyes or whatever. So we have Ordinance 162 already. We have Ordinance 122 that controls traffic and pedestrian traffic. So what if I have a family reunion in my home and I host people and I have a big family. I've got 12 kids, 20 grandkids, lots of spouses. So if I have a family reunion and I've got 10, 15 people staying overnight, should you be able to tell me that's too many people? Well, I don't think so. And if you don't like it, then am I infringing on your rights? Am I infringing on the noise ordinance or the noxious odor ordinance? Am I being a nuisance? I don't think that you should restrict it. And this new short-term rental ordinance says that if you're going to rent a property out and you've got more than 2 people, there can only be 80 square feet per person. Well, that means if I wanted to put 3 people in a bedroom that's 10 by 20, I could, or 15 by 20, I couldn't do that. So I think that what's happened is there's a legitimate concern about protecting things like safety. If somebody wants to have short-term rental, well, have them get a permit, collect an occupancy tax. But don't tell people that I'm going to take your property right away and say that you can only have X number of people. If they're not violating some other ordinance, then you shouldn't be able to take their rights away. And this whole issue has already gone through the courts. It's in the courts, New Braunfels and Austin. And if Garden Ridge imposes this, there's already things on the books to protect people. If you impose this on people, there will be a lawsuit and you'll lose. I mean, the Supreme Court of Texas already said you can't, as an HOA, you can't impose an ordinance like this. You're taking people's property rights away. So I'm just encouraging to take a look at that part of it. But I told my kids about this, and they said, how is it going to be enforced? They said, well, the ordinance says anytime immediate violation is expected, the city can go in. And my son Daniel said, wait a minute. Everybody hide the Jews. I mean, to him, it sounds like
So your
this
3
is
minutes are up. I
overreach.
appreciate your comments.
Thanks.
Please, sir, come forward. Do you want to come speak?
No, I just would like to have whoever speaks to speak up louder. I couldn't hear a word that guy said.
Okay.
You want me to repeat it?
How do we know
No.
if we agree with him or not?
I'm so sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback.
I think I should repeat it?
No, it's recorded. We're good. Thanks, Mr. Bowler.
She'd like to hear.
Nope, we've already said it. We will do what we can to turn it up. Thank you. Anybody else? And again, thank you for that feedback. Going once? Twice? Okay. With that, we will close the public hearing at 6:20 PM. And we'll move on to item number 4A2, discuss and take action. Council, I will start to my right. Inputs, discussions. Kelly. Lisa. Jesse. Todd. Okay.
Nope.
Nancy and/or Marissa, any other comments? Okay. So if there are no other comments, council, what we need to do now is have a motion to approve. We want to be specific in this. So what I would like, if there is a motion, to basically restate item number 4A for that motion, along with a second. So is there a motion to approve ordinance number 1303-2023?
I move to approve ordinance number 13-032023, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting a comprehensive planning and zoning ordinance, establishing a planning and zoning commission and a board of adjustment, setting rules and regulations, providing for penalties, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date.
Thank you, Kay. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, we'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 4B, ordinance number 703-2023, amendment number 6, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, amending ordinance number 7 and all amendments thereafter adopted, establishing provisions for traffic impact analysis and other matters in connection therewith, providing for severability and declaring an effective date. So council, what we're doing here is looking into being able to conduct a traffic impact analysis for proposed businesses. So, Bryce, anything to add on this?
The only thing I'll comment on this one is, so right now, there is not very specific requirements for when a traffic impact analysis is needed or the methodology for determining when that's needed. And so that's the item that you have before you is basically the way that engineers will look at traffic and determine the 3 different levels, level 1, level 2, or level 3, if a traffic impact analysis is needed. And that we have a requirement that all development applications will at least turn in the determination form to see if a TIA is needed or not. It's very standard. Almost every community has these things. That TIA, if you're not familiar with it, provides mitigation measures for impacts. So it could include things like adding deceleration or acceleration lanes, or maybe off-site improvements to add a traffic signal. It really just depends on the scope and scale of the development. But this is a very good thing for the community to have to help manage traffic and the impact of new development. I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Council, any questions initially for Bryce? Okay. Nancy, anything to add?
No, sir.
Okay, Marissa. All right, we'll hold a public hearing. Item number B1. We open the public hearing at 6:24 PM. Marissa, were any written comments submitted to us?
No, there are no written comments submitted.
No written comments submitted to us. Would anybody like to come up and speak regarding ordinance number 7, amendment number 6? Okay, nobody wants to come up and speak. Therefore, we will close the public hearing at 6:25 PM and open it up for council discussion. So, council, anything to add or discuss? I'll start to my left this time. Kay?
I think anything that we can do to be proactive about our traffic concerns is well worth it, well needed. Much
Yes,
needed.
ma'am. Todd?
I'm going to echo that because traffic is a problem. It is not going to get better. It is only going to get worse. So we need to do whatever it is we can to try to help.
Thank you, Todd. Marissa, can you turn off that mic? That sometimes helps with making sure that we've got enough volume for everybody. Thank you. Jesse?
Yes, I agree with Todd and Kay. I think this is greatly needed to move forward as we're developing, as our city grows. So, no, very, very well needed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lisa?
Agree with what everybody said. Thanks.
I would
Kelly?
agree with everybody. We definitely need it.
Okay. Thank you. If everyone is in agreement then, can I get a motion? And just like we did before, basically, if you're proposing to approve this, make the motion and then just restate item number 4B. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make it. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 7-03-2023, amendment number 6, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, amending ordinance number 7 and all amendments thereafter adopted, establishing provisions for traffic impact analysis and other matters in the connection therewith, providing for severity and declaring an effective date.
Thank you, Jesse. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Council, any further discussion? No further discussion. I will call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4C, ordinance number 23803-2023, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, appointing members to the Board of Adjustment and providing for matters related thereto. This is not a public hearing. Bryce, is there anything you want to add to this? Okay. Nancy and/or Cynthia?
So this one, Mayor, is a formality that we need to go through the process. The city right now, we just adopted our updated comprehensive zoning ordinance, and within there, what we have done is future-proof that ordinance so that hopefully come the results of the election in May, the city goes home rule. But if that happens, the city's mayor and council is no longer authorized to sit as the Board of Adjustments. So we future-proof that ordinance in the event that the special election and home rule status is granted to the city. So this ordinance here, what it does is officially appoint mayor and council, as y'all currently are seated, as the Board of Adjustment, and you will continue to serve unless or until home rule status is granted. And if home rule status is granted, at that point, you will have an agenda item to actually appoint persons to sit as the Board of Adjustment. So this is all precautionary and just so that we can do things as efficiently as possible and not have to revisit any items overly much.
Thank you, Cynthia. Nancy, anything else to add with that?
No, sir.
Marissa? Okay, council, so, and I'll restate everything for everyone out there. When requests for variance to our zoning ordinance come forward, and those requests for variance are heard, we have to establish ourselves as a Board of Adjustment to hear that request for variance, and the council and the mayor do that. And again, what Cynthia said is if home rule is approved on the coming election, the special election on the 6th of May, then we will actually appoint a Board of Adjustment other than the council and the mayor. But until that time, the council and the mayor serve as the Board of Adjustment. So this is a formality and going through the process. So council, turning to my right, any discussions? Lise, Jesse, Todd? Okay. If there's no further discussion about it, can we get a motion to approve?
Move to approve ordinance number 238-032023, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, appointing members to the Board of Adjustment and providing for matters related thereto.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? We'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 4D, resolution number 498-03-2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, authorizing, establishing, and approving a development plan manual, and authorizing the city administrator or their designee to amend the development manual. Cynthia, do you want to address this? And/or Bryce?
I'll let Bryce go too. This is his specialty.
Here you go. You got it.
So with the adoption of the new zoning ordinance, one of the pieces that we did is we established the idea of a development manual, which is a combination of all the city's applications and checklists for submitting different planning and zoning and development applications. So by doing this, all of those technical criteria about what has to specifically be submitted and what's actually shown on those exhibits, like north arrows and graphic and written scale and all of that, technical items that staff reviews to ensure that it meets your ordinance. We pulled that out of the zoning ordinance because some of that stuff changes over time. Some of it's unique project by project. And so what we've done instead is we've created a variety of applications. We've started with zoning that folks are able to then submit and clearly know exactly what they need to complete and exactly the technical criteria that has to be shown on the exhibits. And so that's what you're approving this evening, or the resolution is approving this evening. It will be maintained administratively, so staff will make updates and add to it as needed and as things change. What this is not the actual regulations that govern those applications. Those things are all in the city's code, whether it be the subdivision ordinance, zoning ordinance, or other ordinance of the city. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. Thank you.
Council, any questions for Bryce? Okay. And Nancy and Marissa, anything to add? Okay. Council discussion, starting on my left. Okay.
No, sir.
Todd? Jesse?
I really like having this document here where it can be maintained and authorizing the city administrator or designee to update it, where it doesn't have to come to council anymore. So I really appreciate y'all doing the work and moving forward. So thank y'all, Bryce especially. So now I'm glad to see it.
It's definitely Bryce in his element, yes. Lisa? Kelly? Okay, there's no further discussion. Can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve resolution number 498-03-2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, authorizing, establishing, and approving a development manual, and authorizing the city administrator or their designee to amend the development manual.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. We'll move on. It completes item number 4. Moving on to item number 5, citizen comment period. You do not have to have signed up previously before the meeting began to come up and speak. This does not have to be about the business we've just conducted in item number 4. It can be whatever concerns you, and it's 2 minutes. And I just remind everybody that we can't comment on what you have to say, but it doesn't mean we're not listening to you. So any takers to come on up? Please, sir. Dr. Miller, always a pleasure to see you, sir.
My pleasure.
Floor is yours.
Jim Miller, 9910 Marie Meadow. And I'll look at I'm gonna talk about some about the ordinance, and if I get out of line, city attorney, please muzzle me. You spoke at the end about the main thing I had with the ordinance and the Board of Adjustments and things along that line. It seemed like a layer of transparency was removed. And it's coming back if we get the home rule. If we don't get the home rule approved, there's a layer of transparency that's missing with things that don't come before planning and zoning anymore. And I respect that the Board of Adjustment and City Council were the elected officials, and as elected officials have the right to have the final say in things, but they were one and the same. It was the Board of Adjustments and City Council were one and the same. We're missing something in there, but you guys just, everything comes to you, and if you guys approve it, fine. The Planning and Zoning Commission, in my mind, was another layer in there of appointed officials that got to look at things and expanded the scope of their exposure to the community. The people we have here tonight are people that are concerned about things in the city. The ones that we don't even know if we're reaching are the ones that are here. So along those lines, what I'd like to see is a way that even after this ordinance is passed, thank God, because I started working on it, I think it was 5 years ago in June. Even after it's passed, there's a way, a more formal way to put in suggestions and things to the city council. Because it seems like we came a long way for this meeting that was, in all truthfulness, about 15 minutes about an ordinance that took 5 years to make and is so important to the city.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Anyone else? Sharon? Welcome back. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Do I have to say my name again? I've already said it.
Yes, ma'am.
Sharon Stripling, 217294 Forest Water Circle. I want to compliment him because that committee worked on this for over 5 years, is my understanding. The first time I ever saw it through the city council and some other stuff was last year, and I just find it amazing that what some residents put into something that was important got taken out really quick by the city council. I have an issue with that. And I think, like he said, we need to make it more open. I tried to come to some of the planning meetings where you all discussed it. I made it to a few, but the few I made it to were the ones that didn't talk about some of the parts I was really interested in. And so I just want to compliment them on all the work they did on trying to get it together.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Okay, if no one else wants to come forward, then that'll complete item number 5, citizen comment period. And we'll move on to item number 6. There being adjournment, there being no further business, the city council special meeting is adjourned at 6:38 p.m. Thank you, and I appreciate you coming tonight. Thanks.
It would be most inappropriate for us to do a fist bump.